Some bad news. I'm running out of time in Canada. What is up, people? My name is Stephen. You're watching Moving to Canada, and today we are shaking things up a bit. You've seen the intro. You know I need to get something off my chest, so I'm not going to drag this out any more than I have to. I only have 1 year left on my IEC, which means if I don't find a way to stay in Canada past summer 2023, then I'm out. Kaput, gone, arrivederci, alla vida, slán, au revoir, sayonara, and aloha. The goodbye meaning of aloha, not the hello one, obviously. Due to the joy that was COVID-19 and work permit expiration dates, I had to activate my IEC earlier than I wanted. And by the time I landed in Vancouver, where I live now, I had used over 5 months on my work permit without even being in the country. Without getting too technical in this video, if I wanted to apply for permanent residency, one of the things I'd need for my application is a year of skilled work on payroll accrued in Canada during my work permit. With 5 months already used on my permit, I had to hit the ground running if I wanted to find a company that would hire me in a role that met the criteria for skilled work, and one that I enjoyed working for. Obviously, not the easiest thing to do. All this means I have had to significantly speed up my decision making on whether or not I want to apply to stay in Canada as a permanent resident, which brings us to today, where I'm going to meet Jenny Perez of Perez McKenzie Immigration here in downtown Vancouver to talk to her about the BC PNP program as a potential path to permanent resident status. Jenny is a first-generation Canadian citizen who moved to Canada in 2002 from Peru, and having someone who understands the challenges of moving to a new country and starting from scratch firsthand really makes a difference when you're looking for someone to help with your application. There is no point in listening to me try and explain this all myself when I literally have an expert who's willing to answer all of our questions. So, let's go meet her.
Hi, my name is Jenny Perez, and we're going to talk today about the British Columbia Provincial Nominee Program.
Yes, we are here with immigration consultant extraordinaire Jenny Perez and her team to talk all things BC PNP. If you're currently applying for PR, you've probably been caught up in the COVID-19 slowdown that has left you kind of stumped about the options that are available to you. Well, maybe PNP is the route you need to take, so we'll be quizzing Jenny here on the ins and outs of the program and what you need to know before applying. What is the BC PNP?
The BC PNP is the official immigration pathway that British Columbia has created to help employers retain foreign workers or attract foreign workers, and also to help people that have secure jobs in British Columbia to stay.
So one of the things you need to have outside of that specific program is a job offer to qualify for the BC PNP.
Correct. You need a genuine job offer from an employer that meets the BC PNP requirements, and we're going to talk about that. So employer and job need to meet some requirements. There are options for people that do not have valid job offers, but those are limited. There is a stream called International Postgrad that does not require you to have a job offer in British Columbia, but it does require the candidate to pursue some specific studies in one of the selected programs in British Columbia.
So what can the BC PNP do, and how can it help you stay in Canada?
The BC PNP is a great option because it helps you to move forward with permanent residency, but also it helps you securing a work permit to extend your stay while you wait for that permanent residency to be processed.
Okay, so if you qualify for the BC PNP, while you're waiting for permanent residence to clear, you're still good. You can still work, you can still do everything.
Correct, if you are nominated.
So we're talking a lot about nominations, about eligibility. So what is it that people need to know before applying for this program, and really what should they be careful about?
Well, it's important to understand that there are two factors in the application process. The first one is to be aware of the eligibility requirements, and then the second one is to be aware of the score factor. So once you're eligible, or if your employer ticks the boxes, then you need to know what your score is going to be, so to see if you're going to be competitive or not. Because if you're not competitive, you are not invited to apply. You are not selected to move forward.
Oh, so it's somewhat similar to what people might experience if they're doing the Express Entry program in terms of CRS scores.
Yes. So when you go through the BC PNP, there are two stages in the process. You need to deal with the provincial government, the small government first, and then you deal with the federal government later. It's basically the provincial government telling the federal government, okay, I'm nominating you in British Columbia, and I want you, federal government, to give Stephen permanent residency, but in the meantime, also help him with a work permit.
Okay, so in short, the PNP programs across the country are kind of saying, hey, we want this person, federal government, listen up.
Correct, yes.
Oh,
yes.
And some of these eligibility factors that we talked about is the job requirements. So
yeah,
what might they look like?
So if your job is in Vancouver and the Lower Mainland, the employer needs to have at least 5 full-time employees on payroll or part-time equivalents. Also, the employer needs to have 1 year operating in British Columbia and must be registered in British Columbia.
Okay.
And they need to offer you a non-seasonal full-time position on payroll where you are directly employed by the company you're working for.
So, I couldn't set up my own company and nominate myself.
No.
And also, if you were doing seasonal work, like on the slopes or something, that won't apply. It needs to be year-round, committed job.
Correct.
Okay. What other factors are taken into account from the employer's point of view when it comes to the BC PNP?
The burden of keeping the job is on the employee.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's interesting.
Don't mess up.
Yeah. So, and I said that the employer in Vancouver and the Lower Mainland needed to have 5 employees on payroll, but if it's outside the Lower Mainland, it's only 3. So it's quite flexible.
Okay. So how difficult is it for a candidate to secure a nomination through PNP?
More and more bigger businesses are looking at the BC PNP as the way to go because it's a much more friendly option than the classic labor market impact assessment, the LMIA. The BC PNP does not require strict advertising. It's more on you, the candidate that wants to get residency, that will take care of most of the process.
A lot of people who are coming to the end of their work permit are looking for ways to stay, and maybe they realise that they haven't reached the requirements for the skilled job. You were saying that the BC PNP has different kind of eligibilities within jobs. Can you talk a little bit more about that?
Oh, yeah. So the BCPP has different streams, has multiple streams. So I'm trying to keep it simple, but if we want to keep it somehow simple, there is the skilled worker stream and there's the entry-level semi-skilled worker stream. The semi-skilled worker one is very specific to a list of eligible occupations, mostly in tourism and hospitality. Yeah, there's food processing, there's trucking, but mostly tourism and hospitality.
So the NOC codes that people might be familiar with express entry, they're...
Correct. This is a separate one. Okay. So the BCPNP is really such a flexible office that they do not only help skilled workers, they also help entry-level workers. And that's how many hotels and restaurants can retain their entry-level workers. Yeah, that they cannot do express entry.
If you're working in those kind of jobs, tourism fields, restaurants, bars, that kind of stuff, BC PNP might actually be a way to get permanent residency.
Of course, yes.
Amazing. I suppose the big question that a lot of people have at the moment with the slowdown with express entry is why choose the BC PNP over the conventional express entry route? What's the benefit of this over that?
There are different variables. So, for example, if you are highly educated, still young, you might have a good case to go directly to the federal government using the express entry system. So you do not need the help of the provincial government. And I know this is a little bit confusing because in the express entry world, you can create a profile there, but then you can enhance your situation by also approaching the provincial government. So if you get the nomination, you get points in express entry, but you also change the type of candidate you are. So many people, even if they have good scores now, they are becoming nominee candidates to move forward faster.
Hey, so it's kind of like a leapfrog, just jump forward with the express entry, because you get a bunch of points.
Yes, you got a bunch of points if you are using that stream with the BC PNP. So in the BC PNP, there are a number of streams, and one of them is a combo, I call it a combo stream, which is the express entry with BC PNP. So if you are there, then you will indeed get points in express entry, and you will move forward in express entry with the federal government.
Okay.
There are also streams that do not require the candidate to be in express entry. you can go straight to the BC PNP, and then the federal government stage is done on a different platform, not through Express Entry, slower, but you still get residency.
Okay, so it's kind of like two great options available. Like you can you can group your points from the BC PNP with Express Entry and you have a load of points and that's great. Or certain BC PNP streams don't need Express Entry at all.
Correct.
So you have double the chance, is that fair to say?
You need to assess.
Okay.
If you are in Express Entry now, let's say, I think you're going to be
Very shortly, I'll be
in
going
Express Entry. Yeah, but then if you want to use the combo stream, which would make sense, you can be in Express Entry, why not to do the combo?
Yeah.
The other factor that you need to take into account is the score. The BC PNP, every 2 weeks or every week they issue invitations, and the one that is the combo is faster, but also requires a higher score.
Okay.
So if you want something faster, you need to have a higher score. So then you will need to check how your score will be, and if it makes sense for you to wait until you are invited there, or maybe you are willing to go for the other stream that is slower for permanent residency, but you can be invited faster, and you have the peace of mind that you're already on your way and you're moving forward.
So you really have to kind of take it at each individual person and what their needs might be and how fast they might need to get.
You need to assess the context of the scores, what is going on also in Express Entry, if it makes sense for you to do BC PNP or not, or maybe accept that you need a BC PNP, even though you can be in Express Entry. Some people create their profile in Express Entry and then they register in the BC PNP, even though they have beautiful scores, they register in the regular simple stream. And then they get nominated, and then they come to me saying, I'm confused because I got this nomination, but now I cannot use the points in Express Entry, I cannot use Express Entry. No, because you selected the wrong stream at the beginning. Oh, but I want to change it now. That's it. No,
They don't let you.
Well, you need to start the process from scratch, and you need to pay the fee again, which is $1,150. Sad to see that the person could have done this in 9 months rather than 20 months, just because they clicked the wrong stream at the start.
Because they have to go all the way back to the start again.
And then, yes, just little things like that.
Yeah. Which is where you come into play. It's where
Correct.
an expert comes in
Yeah.
and help you from the beginning. It's not a very simple, straightforward process because Canadian immigration is usually very simple to understand. Yeah.
It's not as simple anymore because you need to strategize as you go and as the scores fluctuate, and also taking into account the context we're living. Yes.
Which brings me to my last point. Canadian immigration isn't that simple. We've clearly established that. So if people want more information or need help, where can they go?
Yeah, well, they can come to us and we can help with having a consultation first and then assessing their options, a strategy, if they want to do this themselves, how they can approach it correctly from the start, or maybe if they don't want to be alone in this process that can be very stressful, we can take over and represent them from start to finish. There are no simple answers in immigration anymore, and I know this is frustrating because a lot of people sometimes say, oh, I just want to know this and I want a quick answer. Well, that is not possible in these times. Yeah. So it's important, before we give a recommendation, to understand the specific case in detail, and then the options, and then the timelines, and then set expectations accordingly.
And if you want great advice and really figure out what the options are available to you, talk to Jenny. Talk to Jenny.
Sorry.
Talk to Jenny. Jenny, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us today. It seems like there's loads of options available for people. So if you guys want to find out more, if you want to find out what the options are available to you, then get in touch with Jenny, and I'm sure she'll be able to help and get you started on your BC PNP journey.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Cool. So, despite the past couple of years being slow for Express Entry, the good news is that things are kicking back into gear throughout the second half of 2022. As of July, regular FSW and CEC draws are finally back, after being paused for months, but it's not all good news. The CRS score cutoff is extremely high and will likely stay high for most of 2022. The score may start to fall as Express Entry targets are set to increase in 2023 and then again in 2024, but in the meantime, a PNP might be your best shot at getting permanent residence in Canada. Even after Express Entry is back to normal, a PNP is still a great immigration option for many hopeful newcomers. No matter what happens with Express Entry in the months ahead, you can boost your chances by making sure you're as competitive as possible. Hopefully, chatting with Jenny has helped you folks make up your mind about the best program for you, and if you're looking for more information, I strongly encourage you to reach out to Jenny directly and book a consultation with the PMI team. She is so knowledgeable and friendly and understands the anxieties potential PR applicants are facing. I'll leave a link below to their website for anyone who's interested. I obviously still have a big decision to make about my future in Canada. So if you're a Canadian who's lived here your whole life, or someone who's secured PR for themselves and made the move across, I'd love to hear your thoughts about living in Canada long term. And as always, if you've liked the video or found it helpful, I'd really appreciate it if you subscribe to the channel, if you haven't done so already. Also, if you aren't already, you should follow us on Instagram, as that's where we engage with our community the most and take questions and suggestions for new video ideas. That's all from me, folks. As always, you've been great, so I'll see you next time.